Hi everyone. It is almost 12:30, almost time for our lunchtime class, Taste of Torah. So I hope that everyone's doing good. Everyone's making do. It's a beautiful day here in Northridge. Sun is shining, starting to warm up, starting to feel like spring is coming out. And so hopefully people can take a nice walk outside today, get some of your spilkies out and enjoy being outside just a little bit, which is so important in terms of our physical and our mental health. So important for us to make sure that we get some time outside, get the sunlight, get the vitamin D, get our hearts pumping, get our muscles working, stretch out. I always have to remind myself not to sit hunched over at my computer, but sitting up straight, making sure to stretch every day so that we're feeling good, feeling healthy. I'm so glad that people continue to join us either through the Facebook feed or through YouTube. Again, I apologize if it keeps looking like I'm looking in different directions because I've got two cameras going at the same time, so I try to spend a little bit of time focusing on one camera and then focusing on the other. So that's why I keep changing my viewing perspective. I'm also then looking at a third screen, which is the screen where I have the text that we're studying. If you're viewing us through the YouTube channel, the texts that we're studying are on my Facebook page, Ehud Sela. So you can look for the text and you can follow along with those there. And if you're watching me on Facebook Live through the Tambar Matzion Facebook group, you can find the text that we're studying on the post that I posted immediately before what you're watching live. So hope everyone's doing good today. It's been already a busy day. There's never a dull moment here at TRZ, trying to just keep things up and running. We will be working on, the Chazan and I are going to be working on giving you content for Pesach. If you go on Tambar Matzion's YouTube channel, the Chazan recorded a bunch of Pesach songs, so you can watch those. And if you're going to be joining me through from my family's Pesach Seder through Zoom, you have to email me so I can send you the link, because it's going to be a private link. It's not going to be public on YouTube, but there'll be a private Zoom room for all of us who are going to be joining together that way. So if you want to join me and my family for the Pesach Seders, please send me an email so I can send you out the link for that. So we're going to, as we always do, start with the blessing for studying Torah, and then we're going to jump in and, or I'm going to then continue with a special prayer, and then we'll continue with our text study. So if you want to join with me from home, the blessing for Torah study starts like all blessings, Baruch Atah, and then the last three words are La'asok b'divrei Torah. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. Our special prayer for today comes care of Rabbi Jill Jacobs. She overlapped with me in rabbinical school, graduated a couple years ahead of me. She's been most famous now as a social justice warrior. I believe that she's the executive director, that's her title, at Torah, which is a rabbinic call for human rights. So she wrote the following prayer for medical scientists. God of wisdom, bless medical scientists and researchers around the world with insight and skill, dedication and fortitude as they combat the coronavirus, so that their work yields knowledge and understanding. Speedily find a vaccine, treatments, and deterrence to its spread. Source of life, grant public health and government officials the strength to act swiftly and decisively with compassion and understanding in service of humankind, fighting this outbreak and the other diseases that still plague the planet. Diseases threatening the lives of our brothers and sisters, nations and communities, young and old. Rock of Ages, bring an end to disease and suffering so that we all may know your compassion and your grace. Praised are you, Lord, healer of flesh and maker of wonders. So thank you, Rabbi Jill Jacobs, for that beautiful prayer. We're going to be studying, again, something a little bit about Pesach today as we're coming up. Today is Rosh Chodesh Nisan. It is the new month of Nisan, so Chodesh Tov to all of you. And so we're going to look, not only is it Rosh Chodesh, but according to some, it's actually Rosh Hashanah. No, you're not confused. It really is to some according Rosh Hashanah. Where do we get that from? We get that from our first text. So if you look on the first source, it's Exodus chapter 12, verses 1 and 2. We read this as the special reading last Shabbat, called Shabbat HaChodesh, which is the Shabbat right before today, right before Rosh Chodesh Nisan, where we read about the first Pesach Seder, the Pesach in Egypt. So it says, Exodus chapter 12, God said to Moshe and Aharon in the land of Egypt, this month shall be for you the beginning of months. It shall be for you the first months of the year. So according to the Bible, according to God, the Torah, today is Rosh Hashanah. So Shana Tova, everybody. Time to get out your apples and honey, I guess. And maybe I should grab my shofar. No, it's not that kind of Rosh Hashanah. It is a different kind of Rosh Hashanah. They're actually, according to the rabbis, 4 Rosh Hashanah. Or I should say Rashi Hashanah. There are 4 new years according to the Jewish calendar. Now that may sound ridiculous, that may sound crazy, but if you think about it, we have New Year's all the time in our calendars, not just what we consider January 1st. So what are some of the New Years? So we have the calendrical New Year, January 1st. We have the school year, that's a new year. We have the fiscal year, that's a new year. We have tax years in terms of deadlines for things like that. So we have lots of kinds of New Years. So it's not totally crazy for Jews to have 4 new years. So this is the new year for 5 particular things, according to the way the rabbis understand it. So it's the new year. It's the first of the year for kings. So when kings would count their years of reigning, it would count as of the first of Nisan, which is today. So what does that mean? So let's say a king was crowned, inaugurated, anointed 3 days ago. Today, he could already say, I've been reigning for 1 full year. Now, that may sound a little bit ridiculous, but there are other cultures that do that, and Judaism does it as well for other things. So I learned from my mom, who is right now really into Korean soap operas. Hi, Mom. She told me that Koreans count their age that way as well. They even, interestingly, count your age starting from conception. So the time that you spend inside the womb, they count that as a year. So when a Korean baby is born, they are 1 year old on that day. Not 1 day old, 1 year old on that day. So they count the time in your womb, and then everybody changes their day, their age on January 1st. So if a Korean baby is born on December 31st, they are 1 year old on December 31st. The next day they become 2. In American and most other places in the world, we'd say they're 2 days old. Koreans already say they're 2 years old. That's the way they do it. We have a similar system in Judaism for trees and for cattle, because you had to tithe the produce of your trees, you had to tithe your cattle for the temple, and instead of figuring out every tree's birthday, I mean, what's a tree's birthday? The day that the sprout comes out, the day that the leaves first come out, the days that the blossoms first come out, the days that the fruit first comes out. They say, no, we all know the birthday for trees. It's Tu B'Shvat. Every tree becomes 1 year older on Tu B'Shvat, and the same thing for cattle. Instead of remembering, oh, that cow's birthday is this, and that cow's birthday is that, all cattle, even if they were born the day before that day, on one particular day, all cattle turn a certain age. So we have that same kind of idea in Jewish tradition as well. It is Rosh Hashanah today for the festival calendar. We consider this the beginning of the festival calendar, starting in the spring. And when we talk about the pilgrimage festivals in Jewish tradition, we say Pesach, Shavuot, and Sukkot. We say it in that order. If we were going to say it based on the way that we count Rosh Hashanah in the fall, we would say Sukkot, Pesach, Shavuot. But we don't say it that way. We say Pesach, Shavuot, Sukkot, because the holiday year starts in the springtime. So it becomes Pesach, Shavuot, and Sukkot, and that makes sense in terms of kind of the history and the agriculture. So Pesach in terms of history, so it's the Exodus, Shavuot, the giving of the 10 Commandments, Sukkot, the rest of the wandering in the desert. So it fills in historically, and agriculturally we go first to reaping. The earliest things that we reap, Shavuot we reap later, it's grain harvest, and then Sukkot is the end of all the harvests. So we're beginning, middle, and end of harvests. It is the beginning of months. It is Rosh Hashanah today for the calendar as a kind of said it just directly in the quote, according to the Bible. But then the rabbis shifted the way we think of the calendar to the fall. It made sense for the Bible to think of it that way because the biblical year should start in the spring, because they also thought of biblical days starting at sunrise. The rabbis shifted days to start at sunset, and then we have the year starting in the fall. It kind of makes sense to be parallel that way. Thank you, Joe, for telling me to speak louder. I will try and do that. I'll also turn my mic up. Hopefully that works. Thank you for telling me that. If you ever have trouble hearing me, just post a message and I will try and speak up. If you want to know why the shift from sunrise to sunset, that'll have to be a whole different class. It's the fourth thing that it is the new year for. It is the new year for proclaiming leap years. So the Jewish calendar is a 353 to 355 day lunar calendar, but then it gets adjusted to the solar calendar by adding leap months. We add an entire month every 2 or 3 years. We add it 7 times in 19 years to adjust it so that the lunar and solar year don't get too off sync, kind of like what the Muslim calendar. You can have Ramadan in the spring, you can have Ramadan in the fall. It keeps moving all around. We want our holidays to be in particular times of the year, so we keep adjusting it by adding leap months. So we add a leap month, the month of Adar, right before this month, Nisan. Sometimes we add a second month of it. Interestingly, the group in Israel, an Orthodox group, asked the Supreme Court in Israel, because there isn't a Sanhedrin. Sanhedrin was the Supreme Rabbinic Court. There isn't a Sanhedrin anymore. They asked the Supreme Court in Israel to add a second leap month right now, right before Pesach, so that Pesach can be delayed a month and hopefully things will be kind of more settled down so people don't have to worry about Pesach during the coronavirus outbreak. The Supreme Court ruled that they can't do that, that they don't have their religious authority, they only have secular authority, and that if there was a Sanhedrin, they could say, okay, we're adding another leap month in the year. But interestingly, people are still trying to invoke that. Even though we do it regularly, they're trying to invoke the ability of any Supreme Court to add months to the year. Today is also, according to the rabbinic tradition, the new year for the donations. You're supposed to donate a half shekel, pay a half shekel tax to the temple, and you had to pay it by 1st of Nisan. That was the deadline, kind of like our April 15th tax deadline, although that has gotten pushed to July. I don't know if it ever got pushed in the temple times, but this was the new year for that, so you had to pay your tax by 1st of Nisan. So today is Rosh Hashanah, or just Rosh Chodesh Nisan. So have a good Rosh Chodesh. Now, what does that teach us in terms of something special for us and our celebrations today? So look at the second and third sources. So a couple weeks ago, we read this story about the golden calf. This is Exodus chapter 32. When the people saw that Moshe was so long in coming down from the mountain, the people gathered against Aharon and said to him, "Come, make us a god who shall go before us, and that man Moshe, who brought us from the land of Egypt, we do not know what has happened to him." Aharon said to them, "Take off the gold rings that are on the ears of your wives, your sons, and your daughters, and bring them to me." Yes, their sons used to wear earrings back then. It was common, I guess. Today, not quite as common, but still, we get lots of people wearing jewelry, and he was saying, "Get me the jewelry from everybody." Now, there's an interesting interpretation, or there's lots of interpretations about what was going on there for Aaron. Was he facilitating this great sin of the golden calf, or was he trying to somehow delay it, and was everybody in on it, or were some people opposed and some people in favor? So there's this very famous midrash from a collection called Pirkei de Rabbi Eliezer, which says the following. Aharon was arguing with himself, saying, "If I say to Israel, 'Give me your gold and silver,' they will bring it immediately. But behold, I will say to them, 'Give to me the earrings of your wives and of your sons,' and forthwith the matter will fail. As it is said, and Aharon said to them, 'Break off your golden rings,' etc., etc." So Aaron's thinking, I really don't want them to do this. And if I say to them, "Bring me your gold," they'll do it. They'll go along. But if I tell them, "Bring me somebody else's gold, like your spouses or your kids," then they'll be more reluctant. They won't want to give it, and it'll delay the whole thing, and everybody will be okay until Moses comes down. Continuing back in the text of the Midrash, The women heard this, but they were unwilling to give their earrings to their husbands. Rather, they said to them, "You desire to make a graven image and a molten image without any power in it to deliver us." So just as kind of Aaron had hoped and suspected, people did not want to give them. And in particular, was one group who did not want to give in their earrings and their gold. It was the women. The women were more righteous than their husbands. Their husbands were trying to get it from them, and the women were refusing. The Holy One, back in the text, the Holy One, blessed be He, gave the women their reward in this world and in the world to come. What reward did God give them in this world? That they should observe the new moons more stringently than the men. And what reward will God give to them in the world to come? They are destined to be renewed like the new moons, as it is said. It's a quote from the book of Psalms, who satisfies your years with good things so that your youth is renewed like the eagle. So I can't promise you to explain what that reward in terms of the world to come exactly looks like, but what does it mean for a reward in this world? What does it mean that God is blessing them, that they get to observe the new moons more stringently than men? So some of you, or hopefully many of you, are familiar with this idea that Rosh Chodesh is a women's holiday. It was granted to women in particular. It's for everyone, but women in particular. So this is the source. This is where it comes from. And what does it mean to observe it more stringently? So it's a half a holiday. It's not a full day like Yom Tov, with like Pesach coming up, where you treat it mostly like Shabbat. There's a few restrictions that are less, but it's really like a day off. And so the new moon for women, they get to observe it more stringently, meaning they have more restrictions, meaning less work. So for a man on Rosh Chodesh, maybe you have some extra prayers that you're going to do in the morning, but you don't get to really take a day off of work. While for a woman, you have to observe Rosh Chodesh as a more stringent holiday, more like Shabbat, more like Pesach, Yom Tov, or Shavuot, or Sukkot, and you can't do as much. So it's a day for women to have a little bit of time off from their routines. Now, I know half the day is already gone, but if you're a woman and you're out there and you're like, you know what, I just don't feel like finishing up my work today, you now have rabbinic permission, even rabbinic recommendation to say, you know what, I'm going to knock off the rest of the day. I need to just do something good and celebratory today and not work quite so hard today. If you're a man, you could also do that, but you don't quite have as strong of a rabbinic leg to stand on. In general, it's a nice day to try and do something a little bit special, a little bit different. For myself, when I was in the seminary, after services on Rosh Chodesh morning, when I was eating breakfast, I would usually bring breakfast from home and have that right before class. We had about a 20-minute window between our morning prayers and our first class. But on Rosh Chodesh mornings, I would go to the cafeteria and I would get pancakes. That was, for me, a special treat, and that's what marked for me a little Rosh Chodesh celebration on what was otherwise pretty much a regular day, aside from adding a few extra prayers. If you want, rabbinic permission to eat some junk food that you just haven't, because even though I think a lot of us have been having a lot of junk food as we're stuck at home, you have a little extra permission to eat something junky today or have some kind of a treat. I know in my house the past week or so, it seems like a lot of treats, because basically we're trying to eat all the chametz in the freezer as we're cleaning out things for Pesach. So I don't know, for some people in my family, that's not a treat. They don't like all the extra carbs. Some people in my house are really excited that we get to eat through all the carbs that we have frozen, all the various things. I'm very much looking forward to having some delicious carbs tonight. So it's Rosh Chodesh Nisan. Do something a little bit special. Give yourself a little bit of treat. Knock off work a little bit early. Do something fun today to celebrate that, because that means Pesach is 2 weeks away. And I don't know about you, I've been taking advantage of having people help me clean my home for the past number of years. It's been really wonderful to have a cleaning crew that comes in before Pesach, so we are not working like crazy cleaning out every little nook and cranny. We can't have them this year. We're not allowing them to come into our home. So we are definitely going to be working hard cleaning for Pesach this year, making sure all the chametz is gone. So enjoy this little break today, because the next 2 weeks are going to be really, really busy. Have a beautiful rest of your day. We will see you back here tomorrow for our last Taste of Torah for the week, and then back again on Monday. See you tomorrow, everyone. Have a great rest of your day. Chodesh Tov, Shana Tova, if you're observing it that way, and have a beautiful day. Bye.